Docker components. This is the architecture of Docker component. Here Docker client and Docker host and Docker registers are there. Now let us discuss one by one components. Docker client. Docker client uses commands and REST API to communicate with the Docker domain, that is server. When client runs any Docker command on the Docker client terminal, the client terminal sends these Docker commands to the Docker domain. Docker domain receives these commands from the Docker client in the form of command and REST API request. Docker client uses command line interface, that is CLI, to run the following commands: docker build, docker pull and docker run. Second one is Docker host. Docker host is used to provide an environment to execute and run applications. It contains the Docker domain, images, containers, networks and storage. This is the diagram of the Docker host. Then Docker domain. Docker domain runs on the host operating system. It is responsible for running the containers to manage Docker services. Docker domain communicate with other domains. It offers various Docker objects such as images, containers, networks and storage. Docker containers. Docker containers are the structural unit of Docker which is used to hold the entire package that is needed to run the application. The advantages of container is that it requires very less resources. Docker images. Docker images are the read-only binary template used to create Docker containers. It uses a private container registry to share the container images within the enterprise and also uses public container registry to share the container images within the whole world. Metadata is also used by Docker images to describe the container's abilities. Next one is Docker registry. Docker registry manages and stores the Docker images. There are two types of the registries in the Docker. Public registry. Public registry is also called as Docker Hub. Private registry, it is used to share the images within the enterprises.